What does a Texas-style barbecue restaurant named after the only person accused of witchcraft in the state of New Hampshire have to do with a nearby sandcastle competition and a museum down the road from that? Just another summer in the 603. In truth, this place was named after a witch who was not only accused but convicted of witchcraft. And we're going to check out a museum with some more information and find out why the hysteria surrounding this woman, and go down the street from there and check out a sandcastle competition in the same town. But first, let's see if there is any hint to the namesake of this very Texas-style barbecue joint in Brentwood, New Hampshire. Kind of morbid if you think about it. They did not burn her at the stake, so it is not like you are consuming Goody Cole herself. Still, a little twisted. All right, let's take a look. It's just a little Texas-style barbecue joint. What is this? Oh, just an article about the restaurant itself. I don't see anything pertaining to the namesake. So we have to go on an exploration ourselves and put the pieces of the puzzle together. So weird. So there's an old school Washington plate. Okay, we are in Hampton, New Hampshire. How far was that? 20 minutes from the barbecue joint, I would say, in Brentwood. We are going to get to know a very, very interesting lady. All right. In 1656, this woman, known as Goody Cole, her name was Eunice, was accused for the first time of witchcraft in Boston. After Boston, they lived in Exeter for a little while, which was the original place where that barbecue restaurant was. I think that's why it's named after her, even though there was no sign of her amongst the Texas signs and license plates. And side note, Noah and I smell like barbecue now. Not necessarily a bad thing. And then she moved here, Hampton, and that is where we are on the grounds of, you can see here. And this memorial stone is placed here in the lawn out front in honor of her. Now in the 1930s, the town voted and decided to acquit her of all charges of witchcraft, but she was accused several times from 1656 to 1680. Listen, Eunice was an odd lady, quite eccentric, kind of an old battle axe, if you know that term. I've known women like this, just kind of a nasty person, very bombastic. Doesn't mean that she was practicing witchcraft, but that is what they said of her. This was a time when sensitivities were definitely heightened. Not rationally, but still, it is what it is. And she was several times accused of it, but the charges didn't settle until they did. And she was sentenced to life in prison. But after a little while, her husband got very sick back at home, and she begged them to let her go to tend to him. She had no one else to do it. So she was kind of in like what would be an early house arrest. She remained in the home with him until he passed. But she was checked on often, and through the goodness of some strangers, she was fed, while also kind of being surveillanced. And hopefully, the Tuck Museum, which super weird, I've never been in, I want to. They do hold strange hours, 1 to 4. I think only Fridays and Saturdays. Maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh, let's see. There's a sign. But it just says today 1 to 4. But here we are. Better late than never. And then after this, we are going to go check out the nearby yearly sandcastle competition. So that should be an interesting little day. Looking forward to seeing what they have inside and you know, what they've got about local history and Eunice Goody Cole in particular. Okay, we have entered the lovely, lovely Tuck Museum. Had an awesome conversation with the docent here, and now we're going to take a look around. I'm seeing some cool treasures. This is a 17th century Bible box. Real legit thing. Every family would have had one of these, would have been very important, front and center in the household. Here is some Goody Cole paraphernalia. So it says, good wife, or Goody Eunice Cole, and her alleged witchcraft have fascinated later generations. James Tuck of the Chamber of Commerce exploited this interest in 1938 by devising a ceremony to restore her citizenship. Copies of her court documents were burned and ashes sealed in this canister. Craziness. And talking to the lovely docent more about Goody Cole, wow, what a story. Told me they have some stuff about Dr. Benjamin Rush. I am excited because I love Benjamin Rush. Didn't expect to see something about him here, so we'll get to that. But look at this. Talk about hysteria. And it is said, I think I told you guys outside, that she is buried somewhere on these grounds. I think I told you about her house. So she's also buried somewhere on these grounds. Nobody knows where. But when they buried her, they put a stake through her heart and a horseshoe on her grave. It was like an old wives' tale thing to, keep her quote unquote soul from wandering. Ridiculous stuff, but sign of the times. Noah just pointing out how sad it is. I mean, when she passed away, so a lot of years between her and her husband. He was like 16, she was 30 when this all went down, and it depict her as being an old hag, but she was 30. I mean, I've seen people who look like 30-year-old hags, but was she? Who knows? Did she really, really look like that? Probably not. We've got some merchandise. The Witch of Hampton. Wowzers. I'm gonna go find out if there's any written descriptions of what she actually looked like, because now I'm really, really curious. I mean, she wasn't super wealthy, so there wouldn't have been paintings. Of course, there wasn't photographs.
It says, yeah, she was whipped a lot, hauled into court at least 8 occasions, fined twice, admonished once, twice put under bond. She was searched and watched for imps, set in stocks, and was locked in leg irons and imprisoned one final time for the last time.
She had a miserable life.
Miserable.
Miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And she acted miserable.
Yep.
And it was just a whole, and she looked miserable.
Exactly. They said wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
There's another story here where it says she got a whipping because they thought she was involved with the death of a child. Mm-hmm. Well, that child was deformed and born, not able to survive.
Yeah, so they blamed her.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
gosh. Really incredible information. We were just talking about what a life she had. And so Noah did find out that she was described as being quite hideous. So some of the imagery may in fact be true. I mean, we've all seen people that kind of have the stereotypical storybook witch look. Apparently, poor Eunice Cole did as well and was a nasty person inside and out. So that's really too bad. The Benjamin Rush tie-in here, switching gears a little, is because this is talking about the Hampton Women's Christian Temperance Union. And temperance was a movement that, sought to ban certain things, alcohol chief among them. And some towns banned it for many, many years. And there actually are still temperance laws in some places in the country, believe it or not. But this is talking about founding father, revolutionary hero, Benjamin Rush. It says, prominent colonial physician, signer of the deck, was one of the first to identify alcoholism as a disease. And Benjamin Rush is somebody we will be talking about in the future, especially if we go to Philly soon. Wonderful, wonderful man. Friends with all the right people. One that, surprised I haven't really done a video on yet or talked about, but like I said, he will come up. He's not from New England, so he hasn't tied in with places we've been yet, but he will definitely tie in. And he was ahead of the game on a lot of things. He was not for bleeding, which is, where you would cut the wrist and let the blood drain a little bit. They thought that that let disease and sickness out. They weren't so hip to the knowledge about germs, bacteria, viruses, and things like that yet. But Benjamin Rush, he was kind of clued in early on and definitely weary of the bloodletting, which ruffled a lot of feathers. He ruffled a lot of feathers in a lot of ways with his beliefs in medicine, and he was really a groundbreaking, amazing, wonderful, wonderful man. And kind of tying it together here, talking about how he identified alcoholism. 1841, a temperance group of young men marched to Hampton country had become a nation of drunkards, and they promised the idea of cold water as a substitute for alcohol. That's funny. Give me a little lemon and some cold water any day, right? Hoisting their banners on tall poles read Cold Water Army, Hampton, 1841, and Temperance Army. They marched through villages from as far away as New Hampshire's White Mountains. Dang. That is funny. And Hampton was founded by a group of Christian folks who were seeking a place to be sans persecution. And you had some Puritans as well. And this is kind of talking about the legacy of that. The church held a preeminent place in early Hampton in 1727. After an earthquake and thunder and lightning, nervous parishioners crowded the church to hear the sermons preached on the event by Reverend Nathaniel Guggen. The 3 sermons were reprinted several times in the 18th century. And do you remember a few months ago when we had an earthquake and I did a little video on that from Exeter, and we talked about different types of theme sermons, and earthquake sermons being one that was quite popular? Well, here is an actual copy of an 18th century sermon on earthquakes. I love stuff like that. That's an absolute treasure. That
M1 steel pot, but actually it's really nice.
So where would that have been used?
Well, it's World War II era. It's really nice. Has like the original paint on there too.
Wipe the drool off your face, kid.
Yeah, so it came back with his trunk, and inside that trunk was this quilt right here made by his sister-in-law. And his sister-in-law, we have all kinds of letters that he wrote to his sister-in-law, which is kind of neat, because they converse back and forth. She's one of our women. We did this whole program on the 20 most influential women of Hampton. Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
you know, we had people who were doctors' wives and tavern wives, and that's my great-grandmother there that
It is.
organized the first PTA in Hampton.
Oh my gosh.
Parent teacher, yeah.
How cool is that?
They thought they were being funny, because down here, see that little picture with the little girl sitting on?
Yeah.
That's me.
No, it's not.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I was on my great-grandmother's lap.
That is amazing.
At least 2 years, because they took them a long time to be able, because the war was still going on. That was 1864.
Yeah.
And, you know, it didn't end until a little bit later, and then the next year, and then trying to get everything coordinated to send him back.
I can imagine the process of getting other people back.
No.
Storage warehouse, okay, out in Idaho.
Oh.
And on the back of it, it says J. Dow, Hampton, New Hampshire.
Whoa.
Well, a friend was helping his friend clear out this abandoned storage, you know, Storage Wars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love watching that, because that's all his
Same.
thing too, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna find
exactly.
it, right? So he went through it and he looked, and you know, they said, well, you know, he was going to throw it away because the box was broken. The guy said, no, wait a minute. They opened it up, and inside the box, certificates, property deeds, you name it, that this man had used, who was Joseph Dow, to write the history of Hampton.
Oh, no way. So it came home.
It came home.
Why go to Idaho?
It came home. Good question. Here's what we thought. She, who is his daughter, he died before he could get the book published. She finished the publishing and printing. When she got older, she went to Illinois to stay with relatives, okay, to take care of her as she was older, because there was no more family left here in Hampton. So she went there. Her trunk then traveled with the children of that person out to Chicago, because they're related to the Dow Chemical Company.
Oh.
Okay, and then from there, it started moving more west with people. So that storage unit was probably, they cleared out an old person's thing. They didn't know what they had, because it'd been years and years and years. They just knew they saved it because it said Dow on it, and it ended up back here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Story.
Full circle
It has
moment.
mileage on it. That thing's been around.
Yeah. Tell me what's what here.
You got Navy uniforms.
Yes.
And then you got Airborne. That's just 464. I'm not too familiar with them, honestly.
With the 264th?
464.
464th, okay.
That's a nice uniform, though. Has all the original pins on it and badges. And it's technical. But I think it says he got ranked up, so let's see. Technical 5th grade. So yeah, he got ranked up at some point, that uniform. I don't know.
Okay.
That quilt on the bottom belongs to the Locke family, and their family story is that it was made out of British redcoats and colonial uniforms.
Oh, that's amazing. The portrait of the namesake there above the fireplace. Mr. Edward Tuck. son of Amos Tuck, founder of, if you guys watch my Exeter video, the Republican Party right here in New Hampshire. Oh my gosh, such a great experience. Lori, who runs this place, was fantastic, super helpful, super kind, very nice, loves history, great experience, and she filled me in with some really good information. So highly recommend the Tuck Museum in Hampton. We're definitely going to come back, even just to hang out and talk shop. That was great. So she was saying too that going back to this whole, wow, I'm just kind of like, whew, a lot of good information. I'm telling you, some of these little towns are so full of history. But going back to the whole Goody Cole story. So, oh man, what a life. Like, not good. So yeah, 30 years between her and her husband, and he was kind of a sleazeball. She was a convenience wife, and they came from the slums of England and were not very educated or well-spoken. And she was an ugly woman inside and out, the poor thing, and was really mean and nasty to her neighbors. And things just kept happening, like wrong place, wrong time, things not in her favor. So poor Eunice Goody Cole. When she was kind of in this like house arrest deal here, she ended up boarding herself up in a little shimmy shack that was like her prison. And she, eventually stopped accepting help. And it was thought that she committed suicide. If you boarded yourself up at the time and stopped accepting help, they considered that you wanted to die, and it was suicide. And so that's the other reason that they quickly just buried her with not very much pomp and circumstance or pleasantry, and hence the stake in the horseshoe story. So rough life from beginning to end, the poor thing. She probably needed some mental health intervention and things like that. She was kind of a wreck, but super interesting. The only person convicted. There were others accused of witchcraft in New Hampshire, but she was the only one convicted. And this sign here, talking about how this roadway from the ancient landing on Hampton River, taken October 14th, 1658 by Reverend Stephen, I think she said it was pronounced like Batchelor, and his small band of followers, when they made the first settlement of Hampton, originally named Winnecomet Plantation. For the next 160 years, this area was the center of the town's activity. During that period and into the town's 3rd century, landing road provided access for fishing, salt marsh, haying, mercantile, importing and exporting, and transportation needs of a prospering community. And we are not far from the salt marsh where the massacre happened that I took you to in Rye as well. And if you're wondering why I didn't show you this when we were on our coastal tour of New Hampshire, that is because we are not on the highway one side that follows the water. We are just a little bit more inland, but we are going to head over to the water now and take a look at the sand castles, which I know seems like switching gear completely, but it is in the same town, and kind of leads into that joke where I said, hey, what does a barbecue place have to do with a witch? I still think it's weird. They have a Texas barbecue place named after poor Eunice Goody Cole, but hey, it's New Hampshire. We keep things interesting around here, and being that it is an old state, once a colony, we're full of stories and intrigue. But man, the Hampton Historical Society Tuck Museum, that was great. I love the little hometown museums, and she was really nice and came out and gave Noah this newsletter too, and told me to, sign the guest book. And we will definitely be keeping in contact with these folks because they do a really great job of preserving history. And again, you might think unassuming little town, just goes to show history everywhere, alive, real, and waiting to be explored. Back to Hampton Beach. There's the fish. Piranha, question mark? We don't piranhas here. Gonna take a look real quick at the sandcastle competition. An annual tradition since 2000. And this started in 2000 with a guy named Greg Grady. The new quarters that were made around that time, remember the state quarters? So the one for New Hampshire came out, and he is a local artist, and they asked him to create a sand sculpture based on that quarter. So he came down here and did it. People liked it. He got other people to follow suit, and it just took off and became a thing. So that brings us to present day, and the tradition now of creating beautiful sand sculptures. 8-minute drive from where we were, but it took forever to find parking. And I'm not even sure that I'm parked in a place I'm supposed to be, so we're gonna make this kind of quick. Here we are, and we were trying to figure out if there was a theme. Maybe not. Wanted to come today because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and that can mess things up. They do spray them when they're completed with a watered down type Elmer's, like old school school glue, to kind of keep them in place, but rain is coming tomorrow, so yeah, still working on them. I think last year when I filmed they were completely done. This is more work in progress type of thing, but it's kind of cool to see. We'll move over here and get about it. A little weird. Vertical. A boy with a cape riding a turtle. No, it doesn't seem like there's a cohesive theme. They should do one of Goody Cole. Her nasty little haggard self. Ah, poor Goody Cole. I keep thinking about her. Sad. I mean, I couldn't make any of these, I'll tell you that. Pointed out correctly that it's a little annoying that a lot of it is corporate, like advertisement, which I understand, but it's kind of like, eh. All right. Yeah, I saw that they had a Lion King thing going on online when I had looked. I was hoping the whole thing was going to be Lion King theme, but it's not. But that is definitely cute. See, 25th annual. Been going on, like I said, since 2000, and I think it's cool. Again, though, these are all local businesses and advertisements. You've got a roofing company, the casino, some restaurants. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah. Artists is all the way from Ohio. Dang. Interesting. People from all over coming here to participate. She's really pretty. I think she's my favorite. Russia. Do they have sand sculpting in Russia? Snow sculpting. Look at that. Look at the detail on that. Like the pattern in this. It's called aligned. They came from Hawaii, which Hawaii definitely has sand sculpting. And that is a crazy looking thing on the end. Monkey mind, it's called. Wowzers. Very interesting. For the deeper meaning in this one, or a political message, because one vase, or what would you call that? It's like a yeah, a vase or vessel. One vessel has water flowing from it, the other does not, and she's cracked on that other side that is dried up. So she's dried up where the vessel is dried up, but on the other side she looks healthy, and that is the side that has water coming out of it. So maybe some deeper meaning there. She's got the water of life on one side, and the other side, nothing. That could be life getting you down, a little spiritual dryness, I don't know. Ooh, what is the deeper meaning? Sand in my shoes and socks now. Gonna check. Okay, so some of them are just plain on the back, and some of them are more finished. Nice out too. The wind is, there's like a breeze, but it's not cold. It's pretty warm, even though it's a little hazy. It's nice. Rain comes back tomorrow. It has been the rainiest spring start to summer ever. If it rains tomorrow, which it's supposed to, it will be the 14th rainy Saturday that we have had in a row. Every Saturday for 14 Saturdays we've had rain. Isn't that crazy? How's the weather where you guys are? Yeah, see, the sun kind of partially comes out, and then it's nice. So many families out just enjoying a nice beachy day. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting next couple of weeks. A lot going on. And tomorrow is Flag Day and the anniversary of the U.S. Army. It was the Continental Army. And if we're following the timeline, of course, George Washington hasn't even got to us yet. That will not happen until July 3rd. And the big battle is going to be happening. And we're really excited to get to all that. So I will see you guys very soon. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Like Patrick Henry, I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.
Let me talk.
That was interesting beachside entertainment.